I just spent 3 weeks recreating my favorite childhood boss fight. Hi, my name is Moss, and I'm making Duck Norris Tales, a boss rush game where you play as a duck, saving the world from an alien invasion. But today, I want to show you how I built this massive vertical boss fight as a tribute to Metal Slug X, and all the ways it went horribly wrong before it went incredibly right. I can't tell you how much money I spent at an arcade trying to beat this thing as a kid. It was so engaging that 25 years later, I still think about it. That feeling of climbing up those platforms while this massive boss eating the ground beneath you and attacks coming from every direction, it was just burned into my memory. So when I was planning the boss for Duck Norris Tales, I knew I had to pay homage to this fight. But here's the problem. How do you even start recreating something that iconic without feeling like a cheap copy? Let me show you the entire process. The good decisions, the terrible mistakes, and the one bug that almost made me scrap the whole boss. Before writing a single line of code, I needed to figure out what this boss would look like. The Metal Slug boss is a giant worm, but I wanted mine to fit the alien octopus aesthetics of Duck Norris Tales, while still capturing the same menacing energy. So I started a quick sketch, and before trying to prototype so many different things, I remembered my game cutscene had this in it, and I realized the boss needed to match this aesthetic. So I went back to the drawing board with a specific vision. A giant worm meets alien biology meets shark, and a little bit of vampire inspiration. I know it sounds like a fever dream, but look at the result. This is what I ended up with. Sharp, threatening, organic textures, something that feels like it belongs in Duck Norris world, that also pays respect to the Metal Slug legacy. So now that the design is done, time to build it. The mechanics break down into 3 layers. A vertical jumping platform, a giant worm boss at the bottom, and constantly updating the background to sell the vertical movement. And it sounds very simple. And I had 2 options of spawning the platforms. Option 1, spawning the platform dynamically as the player climbs. And option 2, spawn all the platforms when the level starts. I was leaning towards option 1 as it seemed more efficient, that it would use less memory, and I was just thinking like I was so clever about it. So I spent 3 days trying to implement that, and it was a disaster. The platform was spawned while the player was jumping, and it was causing so many different glitches, and sometimes it wouldn't even spawn at all, like leaving gaps, and it made the level seem impossible. And other times, the platform would just spawn on top of each other. It just refused to work the way I wanted it to. And I never felt more annoyed debugging my own clever solution. So after a few days of misery, I commented all of that out and went with option 2, spawn everything at the start. And that was my dumb solution. But you know what? It worked perfect first try. And it keeps coming back again and again that the boring solution most likely is the right solution. Now that I had it working, I need the worm to actually do something. So the core mechanic is simple. The boss eats a platform from the bottom, forcing you to keep climbing. But I didn't want it to be predictable, so I added randomized counters that select different platforms to destroy it at random intervals. You can't memorize the pattern because the pattern changes every playthrough. But a slow-eating worm isn't exactly threatening by itself. So for the first attack, I wanted something simple that adds pressure without being overwhelming. An energy ball that shoots towards the player at a slow speed. Easy to dodge if you're paying attention, but deadly if you're focused on climbing and forget to check. Honestly, this was the easiest part of the entire boss. Next up, a laser attack that forces you to move to the side of the screen, and it acts as a major threat. And this one took me a couple days. Not because the laser itself was hard to code, that was the easy part, but because adding the laser that looked good is a lot harder than it sounds. So I tried to do it with particle effects at first, but it ended up overpowering the scene too much. It also stood out with how the scene was designed. So I decided to make it all hand-drawn, and that's why it took a bit longer. And this is how it looks like. And look at this, the laser sweeps across the screen, you dash to the side, and the tension is perfect. But this looks and feels exactly like Metal Slug. The one thing that they didn't have was a second phase. So I added 2 serpents that appear halfway through the battle. But here's the twist. These spawns are tethered directly to the boss. If you damage them, the boss takes the damage as well. So that creates a risk-reward scenario. You deal direct damage to the boss, or split your attention between the spawns. With all that complete, this is how all looks like. This was genuinely one of the most fun things I've made for Duck Norris Tales, not just because it's a homage to Metal Slug, but because it pushed me to solve problems I'd never encountered before. And here is what I learned. If you're making a boss fight or any complex game system, the smart solutions isn't always the right solution. Sometimes the simple, dumb approach is so much better. Now I want to hear from you. What is your favorite arcade boss fight? The one that ate all of your quarters, but you kept coming back for more? Let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for inspiration for future bosses. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far and you're interested in optimizing things and becoming better, I've created a new Discord server for like-minded people who wants to take this journey to the next level, and you can find it in the links below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and a comment. It will really help me with the algorithm and help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this video, you'll enjoy this video as well. Thank you so much, and remember, just take it one day at a time, and I'll see you in the next video.